on our support website. So we are at the top of the hour. We're going to get started. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to use the Q&A tab in the webinar to ask any questions. We'll take them as they come, and also towards the end. So hopefully the community gets value out of this. So I am sharing my screen. Cam, can you see this? It's a little.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
All right, so let's get rolling. So this is again an ARIVE.Next University session. So we are talking of point of sale in ARIVE.Next and how it really works and client needs. These are the major two topics, and the document center, which is kind of tied to client needs. So we'll cover this today. So specifically, we'll get into more how do you configure point of sale, different questions, what is shown to borrower, what kind of experience the borrower has from a POS perspective. So we'll look into that. Then, as I mentioned, we have a highly configurable needs engine where using the guideline parameters or loan data fields, you can define what documents would you like to collect from borrower, and the system will automatically look at the loan file and generate a list of such needs and get them for you. So whether it is for your borrower, co-borrower, same app, multiple apps, so that all is available and working. We also have a document center where you can actually generate docs, and as the documents come from your needs, they get sent to the document center. So these are the three main areas we will cover today. This is available as of now, which, as I said, directly connected to the loan origination platform. We are also working on a revamp purely from a design perspective. The functionality is kind of similar, but the user experience will become more flat for the docs and needs. Instead of folders, it's more flat view. As well as we are launching e-sign. I think we have announced this earlier. So by early next month, starting with DocuSign, e-sign will be available. So you'll be able to generate a document from the document center, and with one click, send it to your loan participants, loan borrowers for e-sign, and they will get a task to sign the document. They can come to POS, sign it, and send it back. So hopefully that brings in a lot of efficiencies, saves you guys a lot of time. So that is well on track for getting released early next month. As well as we are looking to ship a co-branded realtor portal. So you can share this point of sale with your realtor, so they can get updates on loan status. They can generate pre-approval letters on the amounts you authorize anytime they want. So all those features are upcoming as a part of our point of sale enhancements before we close the year, before holidays. So with this, I think, are there any questions? Otherwise, Cam, I'll probably hand it to yourself to kind of demonstrate what we have today. So
we do have a question. This is
go
from
ahead.
Josh. He's asking if we're considering anyone besides DocuSign for e-sign integration.
Yeah, so I'll take that. Maybe Cam, if you have any thoughts, feel free to chime in. So that's a great question, Josh, by the way. So this has come up several times. We ran a survey of ARIVE.Next users maybe a month and a half ago, if I'm correct, or 2 months ago. So about 80% of our current users are DocuSign users. So the general answer is yes. HelloSign, Adobe Sign. Once we release first version, we want to see adoption. And if there is a high demand of other providers, we will absolutely add these next year. So Cam, you want to add anything to that, or?
Nope, that's exactly what I would have said. So
okay, good. Yeah, we kind of think
fine.
like so. So with that, maybe Cam, go ahead. Why don't you?
Sure. Share my screen. You should see my loan pipeline here. As Harish mentioned, we're going to go over into a lot of the details around the POS, right? For any of you guys that aren't aware, what is a POS? POS, point of sale. It is essentially the interface that your borrowers can work in to submit a loan application and to complete various loan tasks that you assign them. We call them client needs. such as uploading W-2s, bank statements, various pay stubs, things like that, and any other sort of item that you want to assign to them directly so that you can collect documents from them, essentially. Now, sort of going in order of how you would actually go about setting this up, the first thing we kind of want to talk about is the URL for where your borrowers would go to start an application, right? So there's a few kind of nuances with that. So first thing is your company admins, anybody that has administrative privileges over the company settings, will want to actually go in here and go into POS config. The very first thing that you guys should do when you guys set this up, really before you send out any applications or anything, is really just kind of brand it to whatever your whatever your company name is. So by default, each domain, this is the subdomain essentially, is going to default to the NMLS of your company. That isn't, on brand unless it is for you guys, but you can go in here and change it to be, Arrive. Like for us, this is the Arrive instance, so we can change it to Arrive. You can change it to, whatever my company name. Basically, you want to update this. The thing to note, though, is that this subdomain, it needs to be unique across all companies that are using Arrive. So there are a decent number, for example, like Advantage Mortgage Group or something, right? Like there's a lot of Advantage, fill in the blank kind of thing. So if you come in here and you do Advantage and you see a little X right here, that means it's already taken. So it is a first come first served basis from that perspective, but it is there's a lot of letters in the alphabet, so you should be able to come up with something that is unique to your guys' company. And if there's not, and you want something very specific, reach out to us and we can kind of work with you on some of those things and see what we can do. But for most companies, you guys will be able to go in here, set up your subdomain here. We do issue a warning when you can save this, depending on when you actually are making this change, right? If your borrowers are already working in your POS domain and you change this after the fact, use case maybe you do some sort of rebranding with your company. Maybe we change Arrive to ARIVE.Next, for example. That's a minor rebranding. You will want to let all your loan officers know so that they can update their signatures, and you want to let your borrowers know so that the next time they log in, they go to the correct URL. So we'll hit confirm there, and now I've got this copy link here. So what this does is, this is just the generic company-wide POS URL link. If I send this to a borrower and they start an application, by default, since there's no loan officer associated with it, the file will get created based off of whoever I have set up as the lead assignee here. So generally, we suggest you guys set this up by default. If it's not, then it's some weird logic, but we do kind of assign it right away. But if you guys are sending out just this POS URL with no loan officer associated to it, then it'll go to that lead assignee. Now, once you do set this up, each loan officer will be able to go to their user profile dropdown right here. This is my little avatar. So if I upload a picture, I'll see myself here. And if you go here to borrower portal, you guys will be able to copy a link. Then whenever you post something in a new window here, right? Like I've got this, it shows my individual NMLS in the path of the URL. That means that whenever I give this to any borrower, or maybe I upload this to my own personal website where people can start an application, any loan that gets, the users may create their own through this, or maybe they're logging back in, they'll be redirected and those applications will be created for you guys directly. So when you take this borrower portal link, that's a way for you to basically, give that to your borrowers and potential clients, post it in your, embed that in links or buttons on your client-facing sort of advertisement. When somebody searches your company, you can have that as an embedded, start now or apply now, that kind of a button. Or, it's most of the time we see this being used as like just included in an email signature on your correspondence. That is one way to get your borrowers into the system. Another way that you guys can get borrowers started in the application directly is to just go to loans, create a new loan and just kind of create a new loan, create just sort of a primer loan for them, and then you can invite them directly from the loan file. So if I do point of sale, borrower, do Camron plus POS at ARIVE.com. I'll be essentially creating this loan with no information on there, but I can go to this invite borrower link right here and send the borrower a link. Basically, they'll get an email where they'll be able to click on a button and start the application, and they'll be able to go directly from there. This option I would recommend if you're already in communication with a borrower, you're kind of going back and forth with them already on some things, and then this really is just a little bit more streamlined. It gives you a little more control and takes out some of the nuances with like creating a new account. So this is a little bit more streamlined of approach if you're already in communication with somebody. Whereas if you go with this option here to have your new loans be created through the POS, it's really more of a sort of a lead aggregation. Like if somebody goes to your website, as I mentioned, or if you want to include it in your email signature. So in a nutshell, those are the two ways for borrowers to create loans through your point of sale link. So one, through this borrower portal link right here, which is just first come first serve kind of a thing, and then also through this invite borrower from directly within a loan file. So that's for those loan officers that may be on the call right now. Now going back to some of the POS settings after you guys got that set up, there are a few options in here in POS config and over here in the needs rules that we want to touch on before we kind of go directly into and then checking out what the POS actually looks like. So over here on the POS config, this is essentially a way for you guys to hide and show different data points or different sections based off of however you guys want to set up your process in your company. So if you guys want to never trigger RESPA 6, you can do that here through a couple of mechanisms. I can just never collect the street address on either of these scenarios, or I can just don't collect any information on the property address whatsoever. And then similarly, I can not collect the loan amount for some of these options. And then finally, I can prevent collecting the borrower's social up front. Maybe I call them later on down the line. So those are various flexible options that you guys have. But basically each main section of a 1003 application is controllable on a hide or show basis, right? So for example, I've hidden the liabilities section because I don't want my borrowers to worry about filling that information out when, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to pull that from their credit report anyways. It's in those one-off situations with like an FHA streamline where it kind of makes sense to have those be collected. But, for most scenarios, I'm going to just have this disabled. So after you get that set up, you can save it. And then next time any borrowers come in and start an application, they'll, either see or not see each of those sections or fields based off of how you guys have this configured. And then finally over here in this section over here in the bottom right, this effectively is an on-off switch for you guys to either automatically generate client needs upon application submission, or to just turn that off and have that be a manually generated thing. So to see what I mean by that, let's go ahead and leave this on for the time being. and then jump over to the client needs rules. Now I've gone over quite a bit so far. I do want to kind of pause and see if there's any questions over the specific things that I've gone over thus far. Scott, nothing, right?
The only question I was just about to type an answer to, basically asking about if it's possible to invite a borrower who already has a partially completed application.
Yeah, it definitely is. So what they would see in that case is that partially entered data would already be pre-filled in the POS once they go into login. So if you enter, like, maybe you have a lead that comes in, you do a bunch of work on like pricing information on like where the property is located, the property value, and like what the purchase price is. All of that data about, you know, purchase price, property location, etc., would already be pre-filled. So it is a sort of a bi-directional syncing that does occur. So as you fill out data, if you invite them to complete the application online, they'll log in, complete data. That data will automatically get synced back into the POS. And I can actually demonstrate that explicitly once we actually jump into a loan later. So let's go ahead and jump back over here to the client needs rules. So this gives you guys a mechanism to configure this list however you guys want. So you can have it be robust as you want, or you can have it be as minimal as you want. It's really up to you. I do see a question here from Jeremy that I just came in on my other screen here. It's can this be customized? Yes, completely customizable. And you have this full array of different data points that you can trigger these things off of. As Harish mentioned at the top of this meeting, we are planning to really flush this out a little bit more over the coming months. For example, we want to be able to include ways for you guys to trigger needs off of specific information on the file, such as, you know, I've got borrower A who has 2 current employments. I need to collect pay stubs from both of those employers, right? So being able to do per record is what we call that, sort of triggers. You guys can expect that in the future. It's not available now, but we can, for the time being, you know, trigger anything that is available in the UI here. If you do see things that are missing, send us feedback, you know, like, hey, I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Send that to feedback@ARIVE.com, and we'll get that noted down and we can work to add those in the future, you know, if it makes sense on a global basis for everybody. Nicher things, those would be a little bit more tricky to add in. But to kind of just show you guys what is available, we do provide a big laundry list of things that are available by default. We are going to clean this up because I think there's like 1,000 items here. If you don't feel like searching through this, it is searchable, so I can find all things that have loan application in it. And it does get trimmed down. But if you want to just utilize something that is kind of custom to you, I can say, hey man, how's it going? Upload something funny, right? Like it just from an arbitrary, like this can be anything that you want. So you can really kind of go with it. So, you know, anything as arbitrary as mailbox, please. You guys have full editability over this. Now over here from apply to, the way this kind of works is things that only get assigned to the main borrower, right? Like the primary borrower on the first application, any additional borrowers, any co-borrowers on the file, or something that you need to trigger for each borrower. So for example, if I was doing stuff on the borrower's employment status, I would want to evaluate this on each borrower's basis. But if I'm just asking for a picture of the mailbox or something specific about the property, I'm probably only going to do that for a primary borrower, right? Like one borrower that kind of can complete this need that can cover the entire scenario. So that's how I kind of think about this. Scenario-based needs, I'm just going to assign to the primary borrower. And then like per individual, I'll do for each. And I don't have a good use case for co-borrowers, but it is optional. It is an option in case this ever does come up for you guys. So I'm going to have this assigned to the main borrower. Please upload a picture of the mailbox. I'm not going to ever really do that, right? But you guys can communicate to your borrowers that are working in the POS, you know, through these different mechanisms. And I'm going to only trigger this in California. And when it is a lot of these kind of associate to the declarations. So I'm only going to do this when the buying stage is TBD, right? Like they're still shopping around, they're not under contract. So I'm going to set that up like that. You can come in and I also want to note that you can come back, edit these however you want. So you can change the verbiage to be a little more aligned with, you know, your guys' best practices, or you can just straight up delete and remove these altogether. Now, this is the list that gets evaluated with respect to this automatically generating the needs over here. So this item here controls whether or not this list gets evaluated when your borrowers submit the file. Now, to kind of show you what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and actually jump into what a loan looks like. So for example, we did this POS borrower one. I'm actually going to change, it's fine. So I'm going to invite this guy, but I'm going to go in here and pre-fill some of this information. So they're 450. They're doing a base loan amount. Let's just call it 300,000. Save that. Let's go do that. Let's jump over to, let's go ahead and add some income just for the fun of it. First employer, street address, 12,000. Looks good. They are a coder. And here's their contact number. That'll work. Yep. All right, let's go ahead and save that. So I'm going to go ahead and invite this borrower here. Something that you can do with this is you can take a look at the email that's actually going to get sent out, and you can, you know, before it actually gets sent, you can change the verbiage. Maybe you have a little unique of a situation. You know, I can always add text to this and edit that before I send it. And that email is templateable through the company settings as well. So I'm going to go ahead and send this invite over. And I'm going to pull this up over here. And I've got this application already over here on the side. So here's what that looks like. I, as the borrower, so hey, hello POS, is that test that I entered before I sent it. Go ahead and complete the application. So I'm going to copy this. Actually, let's just open it in a new incognito window. Move this out of the way. So now, since this is my first time working in the POS, I'm going to just go ahead and jump in and create a new password. So this is kind of what I was talking about for the streamline process. Before, I would have to, you know, fill out my email address. I would have to click a confirmation email. But since you're inviting them directly from the file, presumably the confirmation of the emails on the borrower. So now I'll go ahead and sign in, Camron plus POS at ARIVE.com. There we go. And one question that is getting skipped here, and because I invited them from the loan file already, was whether or not it was a purchase. So since I created the loan for them, we already know it's a purchase. Scrolling down, here's some of that data that's already entered. So there's that bidirectional sync that I was kind of alluding to earlier. And then as the borrower, I can just, you know, I'm still going to be I'm shopping essentially. So we're going to see that mailbox item get triggered. And I'm going to pick one that's in Costa Mesa. So here's the address. And for any of you guys that are wondering, this is mobile responsive. So your borrowers can work on the application directly on their phones. We do ask a couple sort of more lead questions, not necessarily things, you know, like what's a comfortable monthly payment for you? So I can do 220 or 2,220. Gonna save and continue. I'm going to switch back to just the regular view on my desktop. And actually, we can see like it does go all the way to like a tablet as well. Right? So as things kind of stretch and change, the interface is responsive. We require a cell phone to be entered right here. Where are you currently living? Kingston, sure. I am living rent free. You know, a lot of the standard active service. I am. What is I? That's fine. It's relevant. When is my expiration date? Let's do it in the future. Go. Unmarried. Dependents. Some high school. That's fine. One thing that we do, or our POS does, it gives the borrowers the functionality to really set up their application. So since I didn't indicate that I was adding a co-borrower, I can add this person here to basically on an additional application. But if I went back here and I indicated that I was married, for example, I'm married, the very next question is, co-borrowers should be, did I say that? Not sure why that changed. We'll need to get that taken, checked out. But basically it's like, are you applying with your spouse? Yeah, here we go. Are you applying with co-borrower? Okay, are you applying with your spouse? Or is it somebody else? If I'm applying with my spouse, I can enter that information directly in here. But I'm not going to add any co-borrower information for the time being. And then here's that first employer that I saw here, which was added from me directly within the application. So I've been here since January 1st, 2006. That looks right. So again, there's that bi-directional sync that is available within the application. I'm just going to go ahead and speed through the rest of this because it is very straightforward, very basic application information. You know, we ask all the declarations here. We ask the demographics. And again, all this information is hideable, right? Like you can figure whether or not these sections are shown or not. So that's just an example of how flexible that we are from a configuration perspective. So what is your date of birth? Just enter that real quick. Estimated credit score. Oh, I clicked out of it too fast. Interesting. Date of birth, 1997. Go. Here's another one of the little lead questions that we ask. So estimated credit score, you can enter that. That gives you a little bit of a head start. So if they enter something low, you can save a credit report and say, oh, you know what, we need to get that up before you do anything with it. And then the borrower sees a nice little review of the information that they provided. Anything's missing that is required, they'll be notified. They'll be able to go back and edit that section appropriately. Then we ask a little bit of a lead source, kind of, you know, where did you hear about us? Friend and family, my Uncle Bob. Recommended me to you guys. Nope, I'm good. And then this is where we do the consent for e-consent for electronic business, and then the authorization to pull credit. We pull that information down from them as well. So I'm submitting this. This is when the system evaluates whether or not to, or which needs to actually apply. So based off the information that they input on their application, we'll check that against all the conditions that you guys set up on the needs rules, and we'll automatically generate those needs based off of whether all the conditions are met. And then we display this, hey, thank you for submitting. We'll reach out to you if we need anything. But for the time being, fill out these needs while we're looking at your application. So here's that mailbox, please. Need that was automatically generated. And this got generated, if you guys remember, was because it was an application in California, and I indicated that I was still looking around. So those were, if I didn't enter that, this would not have showed up. Now over here on the loan file, everything's syncing in real time. So if I just quickly refresh this, all the data that was entered on the loan or for the borrower automatically came in. So they didn't enter the social. I didn't show that to them in the POS. So that's still something I need to follow up on. But the declaration information, demographics, all this information does get populated and it gets synced automatically into the application. And then if I go and check what the needs are, I'll see that all these needs were sent to them directly over the, as soon as they submitted the application. Now, if I go over here as the borrower and start uploading stuff, so I'm just going to pick that picture of my mailbox. I'm uploading it here. Good to go, and I'm going to submit this for approval. And now, as the borrower, I can continue working on these different tasks. So, for example, here I'm going to upload my W-2s, and then just keep working through the system. Now, we do notify you guys when these are being uploaded. So I believe it's on like a every 2 hours or something. If anybody uploads at least one document, we send a notification out to the loan team. And then additionally, these notifications are automatically sent. So here's, you know, a thank you email that's sent to our borrower here, where the loan officers are, you know, I can reply to this and it'll go to my loan officer. It says, hey, thank you for applying. And we also notify the loan team that an application has been submitted. So we've got full support for reminder emails, you know, reminding borrowers periodically to finish their application, reminding borrowers to finish their needs if there's anything pending. And then we notify the loan team, and I'll explain what I mean by loan team in a second. But as these items are completed and a review is needed of these items that are submitted, those notifications are sent to the loan team as well. Now, by a loan team, I mean the people that are automatically assigned on the file here. So if I go into setup options, I can see that this is the entire section for loan team. So if I've got a processor on the file, or if I've got a loan officer assistant on the file, they'll be notified as well when those different actions are completed. So, you know, the reminders, or specifically the documents are being uploaded, the application was actually submitted. So that gives you guys a head start to jump in and start looking into just what what's going on in the application, right? And you notice that as I uploaded those items, I can jump over here right away and see that in real time, these items are being synced back and forth. So another testament to that bidirectional communication between the LOS and the POS. And that's kind of the benefit of going with ARIVE, because it is directly integrated with one another. So if you were going with Calyx, you would have to click some button every time you wanted to check on, you know, what's going on in the POS, right? But with ARIVE, everything is synced in real time. So I can go here, take a look at the picture of that mailbox. This looks good. I can mark this as accepted. And if I take a look at the W-2s, if they, for example, upload something on accident, I can say, hey, you know, missing document, whatever the reason may be, you uploaded the wrong thing. I can reject this. And then that rejection immediately goes back to the borrower in the POS here. So, and here's that rejected thing. I see that I've got a missing document and I uploaded the wrong thing. So I can actually go back as the borrower, upload the corrected document. And then if I want, as the borrower, I can delete that other initial document that I uploaded and submit that for approval. And then immediately back in the loan file, I just have to go back and forth. I see that they uploaded that new document here. Yep, this looks like their W-2s. I'm going to mark that as accepted. And then the borrower will continue to go back and forth through this stuff. So that is a little bit of a high level thing for what the needs interaction looks like going back and forth, submitting an application, automatically generating this needs list based off the criteria, based off the loan. And then as these documents get uploaded to the system, there are a couple locations where you can go to look at the document. You can go directly to the need right here and just click on it right there and take a look at it. Or you can go into the documents folder here and take a look at the documents directly in there. Now, a quick little tip on some things that you can do with this, right? Like sometimes it's beneficial to take a look at, so especially for like income, right? If they upload their W-2s, for example, so let's just assume that this was a W-2. I can do something like this where I right click on this documents tab. I'm going to open it in a new tab. And I'm going to bring this over to the side. So what I can do here is take a look at that needs list. I'm going to pull this that way. I'm going to open up the loan file over here on the left. So I can look at their W-2s and then go to the Form 1003 and then scroll down and take a look at their income information and just do a side-by-side comparison to make sure that the numbers are accurate. So if I'm looking here, just make believe, let's say, oh, you know what, their income is actually, 2,100. I can come back over here and input 2,100. So because of the way that the interface within Arrive is structured, you can open up the same loan file into multiple tabs and work on it and do a little side-by-side comparison. I'll pop this back out and then I'll save my changes here. Nice little trick for kind of making your life a little more easier, doing a little side-by-side. Obviously, I'm limited to sharing the screen, only one screen, but if I've got like a 2-screen setup as I do, on my actual desktop here, that would be a little bit more easier to kind of work through the file, right? But in a nutshell, that's kind of what the needs are kind of doing here. Some enhancements that we are going to planning to make here, as I mentioned, the adding more triggers to how you can actually generate these. But we are planning to really clean this up, make it a little bit more intuitive, cleaning up how the documents structure works. Like, right, like the borrower is uploading these documents. It would be great if I could just throw those into categories immediately, right? So those are some of the enhancements that we're looking to make in the future. And then, for example, if I upload something here, we ask a lot of questions here that are just not necessary, right? Like there's all this data here. It's like we're really going to streamline how this overall UI kind of flows and what you guys kind of do to work on the file here. Now, a quick note back here in the company settings, I mentioned that we do have this automatically generate the client needs. So if you turn this off for, this is functionality available to you guys. So if you don't want them to have to go through some needs, or, maybe you want to do a manual review of the loan file first, we do have a couple brokers that do work this way. They kind of want to take a look, do some pricing first before they send a bunch of needs out to the borrower, right? Make sure they're actually good from a pre-qual perspective. So you can turn this off. So whenever I, as a borrower, submit my application to you guys, I won't automatically see that list of generated needs. Instead, the onus is on the loan team to generate that for the borrower. So if I go to an application right here, that doesn't necessarily have any needs on it, I can go over here to this little generate option and get the same effect. So when I click on that, the system will evaluate the conditions for the needs that you guys have configured against the data that's on the loan file and then populate everything accordingly. So this file is in California, but it does have a property address on there. So I'm not seeing that mail please need that I set up initially because it doesn't meet the condition of what I configured for that rule. So I'm going to generate this. These all look good. I can edit these however I like, but I'm going to go ahead and send to the borrower. But because I don't have them in the POS yet, I have to first invite them. But This is how you guys can automatic or, manually generate the needs that should be created on a loan file when you're ready to send them to the borrower. Let's see, I think though that is it in a nutshell. Trying to think, do we have any questions or anything that we want
Can
to
we, this was really good. This is Harish, if I'm unmuted. So this was really, really nice. A couple of things came in the middle. One was the multiple 1003 apps. I think Dave asked. So when Camron was filling that application, the system is intelligent from a POS perspective. If you say I'm not married, it'll automatically create two 1003s. And if you are married, it'll try to club them into one 1003 form. Also from the LOS, when you invite borrowers, you can create two separate 1003s and invite them. And also when you invite users, you can allow, if one user can do somebody else's task. So, husband can upload wife's document or vice versa. So all those, complex permutations, combinations are very much possible. So if there are any specific questions, you can reach out to our support team. But yeah, you can create multiple 1003s. You can add two borrowers. You can allow one borrower completing other borrower's task. So Cam, if you click on manage real quick on top right, so maybe you can explain that. No, the manage on the borrowers widget is a little manage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you see, if you put a co-borrower here, it will be on the same 1003 application. And then we have this little checkbox. That means in the POS, one person can complete other person's task. Or you can put somebody in the second loan application. In that case, we will only show the task, but we will not let the first borrower complete second borrower's task or co-borrower task if they are on a different application. This is something, again, if you need any help, let us know. But we support different permutations, combinations in ARIVE.Next. So I hope Dave that
here's a question from Mark. Wait, who got rid of that?
I answered it. The question was asking essentially how you would do one-off client needs. There's a plus button that I think Camron probably should show.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So the question, how do we do one-off needs? So this especially comes up during, underwriting, right? Like underwriting conditions come back. I need to collect some additional documentation from the borrowers. How do I do that on a case-by-case basis? So let's go back to our other file, the POS borrower. Since they're already online, I go down to needs list. No, checklist, needs list. That's something coming soon. So you can generate or you can add a need specifically, right? So I can select which borrower I want to assign it to, and sort of on a similar perspective, I can either select from a list, right? Like I can search through different things that are already available, or I can manually type something in. So, whatever the underwriting condition, and then I can, provide more detail. And then I just save it, and it's over here in needs pending. What I do need to do though is actually indicate that I want to send it. So the reason we don't send it automatically is that this essentially is an email that gets sent to the borrower. So if we did it automatically and you're adding multiple needs at a time, right, on a single need, right, it essentially just spams them with a bunch of emails. Alternatively, what we do here is give you the option to just set everything up beforehand and then batch send it to them in one fell swoop. So here's another need, and then we're going to hit save. So I see that I got these two. What I can do now is select multiple ones, preview the email. So it says, okay, here's the needs that we need you to take care of. Then I can send it right away. And if I'm still logged in to the POS, actually, let's log back in. Come. And there's those two needs right there that were just added. So another need with a typo, and then underwriting condition example, also with a typo. Again, it's instantaneous, the how these systems or how the POS talks to the LOS. But that was a very good question. Thank you. I think that was Mark.
So there are a few other cam questions, and there's one on the pricing. We'll maybe take the George's questions towards the end. So on the Edge support, so the POS should work on Edge. We test POS for Safari, Edge, Chrome. The LOS is currently Chrome only, and we don't have plans to support any other browser as of now. I mean, Edge is based on Chromium runtime right now, so hopefully it works. But the POS should work on all major browsers. So we do test point of sale across different browsers. So hope that answers, Michael, your questions. And there's another one on commitment letter, which is kind of not really tied to POS, but from a compliance perspective, as everyone knows, disclosures, compliant disclosures are not kind of supported. They're kind of early Q1, and your lender should generally generate this commitment letters. So the general answer is, once disclosures become available, we can look into these specific drawing these docs from ARIVE.Next. One of the other things we are looking into is all the docs Cam is showing. If we can let you add your custom doc, that is something under analysis. So we have about 30 odd docs. This list will increase, by the way, by end of the year. We'll have more docs thrown in, and this is where eSign will also go in. You can preview your doc, send it from eSign right from the same experience. So when you click on the doc, let's say signature authorization, so it will preview the doc, what he's showing. So there'll be a button on top right which says send for eSign. So that's kind of what we are working on, which will happen this year. And yeah, so another area we are investigating is if we can let you upload your own custom templates as a part of this solution, and then you can generate them. But then the onus is on you to make sure you know what you're doing. That's kind of the in a nutshell summary. Sam, hopefully that answers that. New URLA, yes, maybe Cam, you can take that up. The question is new URLA coming soon? So
yeah, so we can definitely get into a lot of detail with that. We're actually planning to do a specific ARIVE.Next University segment on that, probably in January. But we will be aligning with the mandatory date of the new URLA, and we'll go into the details of what's actually going to be changing. From an interface perspective, not much. It's really just like for you guys, a new document to print out. And then for the POS perspective, there's a few questions that are new here and there. But for the most part, at least with the way we designed the application, not much is going to change. But you guys will have basically on March 1st is when we're planning to just fully launch the new URLA changes. But again, keep an eye out on those little pop-ups. Sometime in January, I think, is what we're planning to do, right, Scott? I think
yeah,
like
we're kind of bouncing. We're kind of bouncing between December and January.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that, yeah, but definitely good question. I appreciate the awareness of being ahead of that.
So Cam, there were a few other things I want to cover on POS, but maybe you can take this question first. Can you run a manual pricing for the audience?
Well, I'll cover that because he's asking for like best practice around that, and I have a bit of detail to talk about that. So let's wrap up our POS conversation first.
There are a few more tricks. Maybe a lot of broker customers have a DBA, like you'll have a business name, but you will be doing DBA. Maybe Cam, you can show that in company settings how you.
Yep.
So on that, yeah. So you can edit this. Go ahead. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead, Cam?
Really, this kind of comes in for your branches, right? Like if you've got a branch set up, that's really where it comes into. Otherwise, I would expect you guys to just enter your DBA for the organization name here. But basically what this allows you to do, or allows your branches to do, if they've got a little bit of a different sort of branding, they can go in here, upload their own company logo, their own branding logo, and then they can change, right, like whatever they want from the trade name here. So for example, right, like this is Arrive. I can upload my ARIVE.Next logo, and then I can say, ARIVE.Next. And anywhere, any borrower facing either interface or communication, the emails, like the emails, for example, or in the POS, will prioritize these settings here. So if you've got, again, like this really comes up, if you got a branch, that kind of does their own DBA. You guys can set that up accordingly with this little DBA branding configuration.
Yep, and even let's say you don't have a branch, because when we print the docs, we need to put the legal name of the company as per the compliance, so whatever we generate. So if you want to show your borrowers a different name than what you have as a legal entity, so you use this function, whether at a branch level or a company level. So
yep. Anything else, Harish?
Yeah, I think there's another one minor trick. Maybe in the profile you can show how they can change the name what shows up, like loan advisor, loan officer. So
oh yeah.
So that's another interesting
tidbit. Yep. So I can go here to my personal settings, and I've got my client-facing title. So oops, that's the wrong button. So a lot of people do loan advisor, right? But some people get real creative with it, like the best LO on earth. You can really do whatever you want, whatever your guys' style is. You can come here and so if I go ahead and save this, let me jump back to the POS, log back in. S@rod.com. Then this is where we see that the best LO on earth. So this is kind of where that client-facing title comes into play here. And not only here, but also on any emails that get sent from the price or from the system directly. That will include your title in the correspondence or in the signature. Yeah, forget about that one. It's a little obscure, but it is available for you to, again, kind of put your guys' own spin on things. I do actually want to point this out. A lot of the time we get, and I think we actually saw this when I was doing the application, there is messaging on, hey, make sure that you're, we let me start over. Essentially, we provide a mechanism for you guys to not get any applications on any states that you guys aren't licensed in. So make sure that the loan officers are going in here and entering their state licenses. And then at the company and branch levels, you guys are also entering your licenses here. So I've got South Dakota, blah, 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 all these states here at the company level, but at the user level, I don't have my state license. So as a borrower, when I'm filling out an application, I'll see that you guys aren't licensed in that state. And I could reach out to you, potentially send me to maybe somebody that, in the state that I'm trying to apply for a mortgage in. So really make sure that you guys, if you don't already, go in here to your user profile and then go into licenses and make sure that you enter all your state licenses so that borrowers in your POS will know whether or not you're licensed in the state they're applying for. Probably the most common question that we get, one of the most common questions we get around POS functionality. Actually got one this morning on this. Any other things you want to touch on, Harish, or do we have any other questions?
Yeah, no, this is great. I think what we mentioned, if you find anything missing, let us know. I think the POS has come a long way in last 2 months. All these questions, when we launched in July, the list was pretty minimal. But yeah, I think over last 2-3 months, and we'll be investing a lot more on point of sale. That's our core differentiator over next, I would say Q1, Q2. We have big plan for that. But if you guys find anything missing, anything you need, just let us know. Like Scott mentioned, at feedback@ARIVE.com. Yeah, we would appreciate that. So anything we find will benefit the community, we are giving a commitment to add that in coming weeks and months. So.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a loan for best practices around manual pricing and fees for best practices. So first things first, you guys want to make sure that you want to set up your manual lenders accordingly. This serves a couple purposes. One, it helps your overall reporting, right? So you guys can see where your deals are going to more frequently when you actually select the products accordingly. But it also tells us, like, this is one of those few things that we do reports on occasionally to see which lenders are actually being most utilized in the system and helps us prioritize those lenders in adding as additional system lenders, right? Like we want to reach out to those guys and say, hey, can you at least, you know, as a starting point, get your rates into our pricing engine so that our mutual clients, right, can help utilize your products accordingly. So setting up the manual lenders is step one. And once you do, you want to make sure that you're actually selecting these outright. So let me go into a loan file. Let's go back into that POS borrower. So let's say that I'm going with that POS, right? Or ABC mortgage over here. I'm going to price this out. So I have a few options, right? So one thing is I can change the mortgage type. I can change the term. So if I want to do a 25-year term, for example, I can do that. And then a lot of that information is pre-configured here. So now, depending upon how detailed I actually want to get, right, I can jump in here and hit, there's this little edit button in results that gives me an option to edit a few things, right? For one, the product name, I can do conventional 25-year fixed. I can change the rate directly. So this changes the actual P&I directly. So if I know it's really more like 2.85, I can set that up. And then I can change the total points, the final points in the file. So if this is actually at a bit of a cost, so maybe it's at a quarter, I can set that up. I can change the lock period, some prepayment penalty, and I can enter a bunch of the fee information here. So, and then once I save, the next thing, if I know that I want to actually use this as a product, I can go back to results and then apply it. So what that does is it takes the lender information and all that product information, the fees that were preset, and it applies it to the loan file. So it's a nice little sort of macro that lets me update a lot of the information on the loan file. So you should edit that stuff if you're really concerned or you really want to be a stickler about making sure the product name is correct. Really, that's the gist of it. If you want to edit that, or if you want to utilize the quoting feature here. So if I price this out again, you know, if you want to edit a lot of this information here directly and then download this quote, you want to do it through the pricing engine. But if you really kind of don't care about that, or you just want to get the pricing set up, you can just jump in there, apply it as is, and then you can come in here to loan information. You can change the interest rate directly right here. That way you can see how DTI changes. DTI is very high because they're only making $2,000 a month. Change that. So there's DTI. So if I go here, edit the interest rate, maybe it's 3%. The DTI is at 18. You see that jumps up accordingly. Go ahead, save. Now we're 18.76, jumped up just a little bit. And then on the review fees page, if I want to change the actual points on the file, I can do this as well. So maybe it's actually an 8, right? I can change that, the actual fee amount for the points change. If I want it to be a credit instead, and then update, so it actually brings down to a lender credit now. And then I can also change the fee on the loan center page as well. So I can update this. So basically, after you know where you're going with the loan file, especially if it's a manual lender, all you need to do is select the product once, and then you can come back and change the rate and price from directly within the loan file. And unless you want to utilize the quote mechanism, right, just send a nice little flyer out to the borrower, you can really just stay in this loan file for the rest of the time. And then as I go back here, I can see my POS for this loan that I just changed. I see that is with ABC borrower there. One thing that we do actually recommend is after you're ready to actually go and submit that to the lender accordingly, go to Loan Center and we'll make sure that all your information is good to go. So just blah, blah, blah. So I want to collect the borrower's social on here. Right, like you have a full application, that's good to go. And then now I can process the file manually. So this gives me the option to download it, and then it automatically sets up the file to be in a little bit more of a prime state for you to kind of process the rest of the way. And then if I click this checkbox here, I can upload the 3.2 file into ABC's POS or TPO portal, grab the loan number, generate that from whatever it was, the update, and then now in my loans pipeline, I can quickly see what the loan number is at ABC Mortgage, right? So if you can change the loan amount, do all the terms change? You can change the loan amount. You can change the, you can change the loan amount here. So if I bump this up a lot to 410,000, I hit save. So we're at 18.76, if you guys can see that. DTI bumps up, so the P&I does get recalculated. And then if I go back in here, right, like this was a 25-year, if I change it to a 30-year, the P&I will update accordingly. So each of those little components that is factored into the P&I calculation, that will recalculate the DTI and all the other things downstream, right? So even to the extent of, let's take a look at this. I believe this should work. So I've got my, where's the prepaid interest? Prepaid interest right there, 640, 649. If I go up here, change it to like 4%, prepaid interest bumps up. So we recalculate everything, you know, it's the whole waterfall effect of, you know, the downstream calculations. So it jumped up to 865. Cool. I think that kind of, hopefully that helps you out a little bit, Jorge, in terms of some best practices around utilizing the manual lender functionality. We are a little over time, so you know, rapid fire. Any additional questions you guys have, we can kind of try and capture those. But other than that, thank you guys so much for attending today. Hopefully this was quite beneficial for you guys in terms of knowing your way around the POS and what's available within ARIVE.Next.
Yep.
Harish,
Thank you,
do have
Camron.
anything
Thank
to
you,
add?
everyone. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, guys.